Hello everyone, welcome to another video log type discussion video. So I had planned to make one a little earlier about nostalgia, but I didn't like how the video was working out, so I decided to change it up. And I wanted to talk a little about my personal viewpoint on the fall of sports games in I'd say the recent decade, and how over the last 20 years or so, we've seen a complete regression within the genre, and how it will also, especially the last couple years, with me playing games and then starting to post on YouTube, what you would expect from me, because I don't really have. I know it's very wild down, probably about at least 6 months or 7 months down until we get 6 months. 6 months before we get the next FIFA, whatever that may be. And then eFootball is still chugging around. But I would like to talk about kind of my viewpoint on the regression of sports games. So again, this will be a completely freeform video log, just me discussing all of this. There are better channels, which I will put a link in the description, of Soft Drink TV that specifically talks about the regression of Madden titles, which does correlate to FIFA. I don't think FIFA is nearly in a bad a state as Madden, but it's still not where it could be. And I'm going to give topics about that as well as it goes through the video. So again, these are just freeform my thoughts. I like to share them, and then we can go back to them years later or just have discussions with you as well at the time. So first and foremost, the regression of sports games. So I didn't get into FIFA till I was 15. So FIFA 15 was, or sorry, FIFA World Cup 2014 was my first game, but FIFA 15 was my first full-fledged FIFA game with club licensing and etc. And when I was younger, I did play NCAA football, American football game, and then a little bit of NBA 2K, so basketball, and those games. And then the big games that got me into sports games was NCAA football 14, 13, and 12 for 2012, 2013, 2014, because I would play that with my family all the time, and it became almost a tradition. Every Christmas we would always play it. So that was my enjoyment with the games, because we would play with like our college that all my family went to. We played as that college, their sports team in the game, always play against all the other big teams, and it was just really fun, and we would always try to beat each other. So that became my childhood memories, and even like last Christmas we still did that tournament because I wanted us to keep doing it. So we ended up still doing like a national champion type tournament, which I lost in the final. So even after all these years, I'm still having competition with them, which is really fun. But yeah, even with that title, they don't make those anymore because of the legal ramifications. Those games are supposed to come out in the next 2 or 3 years. But I would say with FIFA specifically, I played every FIFA. I would say it's slowly regressed as I gotten older, just because of the time limitations, but also my group of games has grown. It used to be when I was a kid I only played one game, and that's the only game I played. I played FIFA 15 on my PS4, and that was basically the only game I had for almost a year. So I played almost 1,000 hours in that game. I knew everything bad, good, amazing, terrible in that game. I knew how bad pace was. I knew how stupid the fouling was in that game. I knew everything. But just how amazing it would feel to hit a good shot, or to score, or to do my player career mode series, just all by myself, like a player career mode as a striker, and just have fun scoring goals for Juventus. But so I played FIFA 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So it's been almost 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 9 FIFAs. 9 years of FIFA. And I would say some years, like 21, I didn't get till December because I was kind of tired of it. I didn't think it was that very good. 20 I got because actually started having friends get it before I was the only one that played FIFA. So it was a little different. And so that was kind of my history with the games, is that slowly over the years I got lower and lower because in my opinion the gameplay got worse and worse. I think where the gameplay was at its best was FIFA 17, 18, at the end of it. 18 in the middle, I hated it. I thought it was terrible. But 17 was one of the only FIFAs in my life that I didn't hate when I was playing it. And those were the golden years for me, because that was also my senior years of high school. And I thought the issue a lot of times, I think, with sports games, and especially with people looking back on them and trying to see what's different, and sometimes being harsh in the moment but then transitioning their opinion to be less harsh, is the nostalgia it brings. One, the soundtracks, typically from 15 to now, have always had a couple good songs, and especially from 15 to 18, all very iconic soundtracks for my age group, my 22 to 23 age group that played those games. And each game kind of correlates to a time period in our lives, so that correlation leads us to have it to be a growing affinity, because it leads to good memories we had with those specific games. Because I had games, specifically like PES 17, I made all of the high school teams I have on it. I played against and with in high school, so I had my high school and I played against them, and I actually had like team events, team dinners, where all of my team would come over and we would eat and talk, and we would play with those teams. And it was just really memorable because people enjoyed it. And so I remember that game well. Or I started playing NBA 2K when I was 16, because when that NBA 2K16 came out, I enjoyed that game. Played it with my friends on the PlayStation because it came out free during that summer of 16. And so I played it with my friends. And that game became iconic to me because of that. And then fast forward a couple years to 2K 2018. That game became iconic again because my senior year, for my birthday, I had everyone come over and play it with me. So there's a strong emotional connection to these games. And I think for any individual that plays that sport or enjoys that sport, sports games are a very easy outlet for people to group up and be friends with in those games. Just like Call of Duty is a very easy game because of how popular it is. It's easy to get friends to play it and be a part of it. And then it becomes a part of that specific year, and those memories of that year kind of just interweaving into who you were that year. Especially high school, you changed so much in those 4 years. From 2014, 15, 16, 17 to the end of 18, I was a completely different person every single one of those years. And into college, very different too. But I think, me personally, what led me to degrade the FIFAs over time, FIFA 19 I didn't like, FIFA 20 I didn't like. FIFA 20 actually broke a controller on for the first time in my life, and I was like, I need to change how I'm looking at this, because this is obviously being a toxic environment for me if I'm destroying things from this game. And it was just, the AI wasn't smart, the game wasn't intuitive, just stupid things would happen all the time, and it just was frustrating, and my players would just have bad bounces, and it's just frustrating. And then I went to FIFA 21 was one of the most bland and one of my most hated games. I forget what it was. It seemed like nothing. And then 22 was just eh. And then 23 currently don't get me wrong, has a lot of issues, but I've had more enjoyment with it. One, because of the memories I've made with friends playing it, as well as family. But two, I would say it's slightly better game than the past ones, but still has defensive AI issues. Defenders just won't mark tightly in the box, won't do anything defending. The game is completely catered to offensive attack first. And for me as a defender, it's frustrating when I have to be it's basically, you're the only defender and everyone else you have to move to make it. You have to move them yourselves because it's a competitive advantage if you have the AI do it. And they want to keep it, I'm guessing, being very different, having a high skill ceiling. And if you have to do every little movement, it makes it harder for you, and it makes it more skill based because you have to move all of them. but it also makes it difficult for me, being an offline player that plays against AI. It's difficult for me because then it feels like I'm doing a 1v11 defending wise, because my defenders just won't step, won't attack. I've had multiple times where a defender will be tracking back and he'll go right next to the attacker. He could literally poke the ball away. And in most attempts in real life, that defender that's tracking back would poke the ball away. But instead he just runs across, or he goes away from him. He literally runs away from the player and lets the player just run straight. And then another thing that's completely broken in FIFA 23 that you never see in real life realistic, and something why I have really, over the last month, kind of deterred from wanting to play FIFA as much, is the lack of realism with outside runs. It's more effective to run on the outside and sprint down the sides and come inside. And you get, because you're quicker on that side. In real life, Marcus Rashford, who's a brilliant attacker, he has to have a full 10 yards of space if he's going to get past a good outside back that's decently quick. Even though Marcus Rashford's quick, he doesn't have the angle to get into the inside unless he's fully in front. Whereas if him and, say him and another right back, Carvajal for Real Madrid, are evenly matched, Carvajal is on the inside of the goal. He's more near the goal. Rashford has to get to the goal. And because of that, Carvajal has an advantage and will typically stay with him. Whereas in FIFA, they'll just blow past every time. And it's just frustrating because it's not realistic. And I know people in the community will say, well, I want a fun game, I don't want a realistic game. Well, I want a game and that's why I play PES so much. I want a game that provides me even a realism feel, even if it's arcadey, even if it's not fully realistic. I just want a game that feels like it could be a fun interpretation of it. And just the defending, the pace, it doesn't make it that overall enjoyable. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean I'm not going to stop any series we have on the game, because I have fun doing the player career mode, and it's one of the only outlets I could do for that. And with the death of PES, as we know it, it makes it so there's not many current games to play in the genre I'm looking for, which is a realistic football game. It's just not very common. That's why I wanted to talk about the regression. So FIFA specifically, FIFA 17 was more realistic, more fun, more enjoyable for me personally. A person that looks to strive for a realistic game in the terms where defenders are smart, they'll make mistakes, but they won't just not mark players unless you do it, or they won't make tackles unless you do it. And I think there's been a strong regression ever since and I know it's very commonly spoken, that the regression of sports games has been directly correlated to the increase of competitive gaming, and they strive to be a better competitive and balanced game. And in doing so, making it an esport, electronic sports game that they're trying to make, it makes it difficult for the people like me that still want a realistic experience, because realistic football is not balanced. It is messy. It is where you have teams that are smart individuals that each are doing their thing and each doing their best to push forth for the team. And in real life, the game is played very differently from team to team. Whereas when you play FIFA, when you're playing the AI, it's all the same. Most of the teams just use pace. Most of the teams you play against will press you hard, but the team you have will not press. Even if you have it on team press, they just won't press. And just the realism has degraded every year. Every year, the games become more and more focused on esports and less focused on making a game about the sport it's meant to be, and a bastardization of what the game is. And that's how I see it. I recently downloaded a PES 6 mod, like PES 2006 mod, that allows you to play with the current rosters. And though it is difficult, I still have more fun playing that game than I do eFootball, the new eFootball. And I've always been a person that enjoys playing older titles, so that's also why it's like that. But that leads me into what are the plans when my FIFA 23 series finishes, which I think at the rate we're going, one video a week, it will go on until maybe through, I would say, at least to the end of the year. I would like to start making more videos, but it's a long process, and I need to make sure to get myself on a schedule to do it. But like, what would be the plans after that? I would like to do a like a PES 21 type series with the current rosters, and doing a, not necessarily a player career mode, but doing like a manager career mode within that, and then showing you guys my tactics, what I'm looking for with that. I would like to possibly do a football manager type save. And then I don't know how many of you watched my old videos, but I also made older videos on PES 7. I made some on like Madden, trying to fix the emulation, which I've mostly fixed it. And this PES 6 type thing, I would like to make videos on that too. I think it'd be fun and exciting. And I think what's been lost within these sports games that the older titles have is that they're meant to be a celebration of the sport. And the way I think it has to be is it has to be a celebration of sport. These older games, like Madden, which is an NFL game about American football. It's a game where, at least Madden 08 is a game I have on my PlayStation 2. The newer games don't have this, but this game had a completely old roster set where you could have old school rosters with ratings in those teams. All you had to do was add the team names, but they had classic teams. Like, say if you wanted to play with the 1990 Cowboys, they had that team for you, or the all-time teams. Again, FIFA doesn't have that. 2K does, and 2K is ridiculed for its microtransaction heavy game, but the offline portion is still the best it's ever been. It offers a complete NBA 2K, a game on basketball, offers a complete experience that lets you go back to the 1980s and recreate the league from there. If I could do that with FIFA or with any game, I would love that game to death, because I'm so enthralled with the history of sports and enthralled with just the excitement of transitioning. Because imagine playing through, like, in England in the 80s, and you're having like Liverpool and Everton, and even the early 80s you're having Nottingham Forest in the top division. This is before the Premier League too, so you have really low sums, and you're having to try to deal with your players being sold away to Spain and the Serie A because they're so much bigger. And then say you have a team like Nottingham Forest, you want to keep them up, keep them as a respectable team. The formations are completely different. Most teams, I think, just played a 4-4-2 back then, so you can almost instill a modernism back then at the tactics, and it'd be so interesting to see. And I just light up thinking about it. Or even just having classic teams, which 2K has had classic teams since 2K11. For 12 years they've had classic teams, and though basketball is only 6 players, all you'd have to do is not even name the players. You wouldn't even have to get their likenesses. If you could just put the, like, okay, these are classic teams, this is Brazil 1970, all it has is the name, and then you could just recreate them. And like the players have the ratings, and that's all of them. And then like how PES used to have, where they just have the fake names, you can just change them all the way, because the community is what drives a game to go up and above where it's at. And this video has drawn on a little bit, but that's just how I feel. I think once my FIFA 23 career mode does end up finishing, and we've completed all challenges within that, I would think the ultimate goal with that being that game would be to retire. I know it is a very long career mode, but the way it's structured, it wouldn't be that long. Like one video showing highlights for almost 2 or 3 months, I don't think would be that long. And already in like 12 episodes, we're already almost done with the first season, so I don't think it'd be that difficult. What I was thinking though is once we finish that, I also would like to start experimenting with doing some PES content on the channel, because that is my home. That is my favorite football game. Or doing older FIFAs. I don't know if people really specifically talk about older teams in these games. I would like to do a series where I specifically talk about, say, I want to talk about PES 5 and the PES 5 super team, or the best team in PES 5 and who were on them, or who was the best team in FIFA 17. Probably Real Madrid, but still, it'd be enjoyable to see what that team was like and talk about history, and again, the purpose being to celebrate history. But yeah, besides that, let me know what you guys think of all this. This was a very podcast type feel, and I want these videos to be kind of like that. And I could keep droning on and talk about it too, but I'll leave it there. So thank you for watching. Again, this video will just have some background footage while you can just put it on the background and listen to. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.